Welcome back to the Dark Underbelly. I want to welcome all of our new subscribers to this channel as we put together the case of Heather Reyes. Many of you tuned in not because of this channel or me, but the stories behind the abuse that these three young men faced in their household when they were teenagers. I think what is so interesting, and the interest and the impact from the viewer, from you out there that watch these stories, was that you hardly ever got to see male victims of sexual abuse talk about female offenders and predators. So often we see male victims keeping it inward, never talking about it, never saying anything about it, keeping it a secret their whole life. Whether the offender was a man or a woman, we see men more than women bottling up these stories. And sometimes they devolve into a difficult life path that if they don't get their stories out, if they don't get healing, if they never see any justice for themselves, or even more sadly, in the case of men, if they have been told by society that the abuse was good for them, the abuse was coming of man stories, of them becoming men, this story is not unique. What you all were drawn to as a viewer was the belief that this story was unique. There was something odd about this woman. There was something different about her and her predatory behavior. But more importantly, do we ever discover female sex offenders? Do we ever find out about these cases? You all were drawn to the case of Heather Reyes and these three victims because you never got to hear from boys. You never got to hear from men, because they have been primed to talk about their abuse in a positive way, if they do it at all. We referred to it in one of our earlier videos as the unknown unknown. We will never know how many sex offenses have been committed in the last decades if the victims never report. As we say here, if there's no victim, there's no crime.
Just never thought I would be in that situation, and honestly I thought it was my fault for the longest, because she would tell us, don't say anything, your dad will kill me or kill both of us, like just scare tactics.
Heather Reyes took it to trial. She refused to admit any of her guilt. She never put any of the offenses in writing. She never apologized to any of the victims. This 3.5-year ordeal, that this is in limbo, that these boys have to wait and wait and wait, and then they have to testify. In the end, only one of the victims' cases was prosecuted. Heather Reyes was charged with 4 counts of sexual battery on a child between 12 and 18. December 16, 2021, a jury within 2 hours convicted her of 4 of these counts relating to one victim story. And that was victim number 1, who then returned to tell the detective how his dreams were shattered by this abuse. Heather Reyes sits in the Florida Department of Corrections, Florida Women's Reception Center, where she is serving her 10-year sentence combined, as well as when she is released, she will serve 20 years of sex offender probation. She will be required to wear a GPS monitoring. She will have a curfew. She will have no contact with minors. She will have no contact with the victims. And she will be required to register as a sex offender for the rest of her life. She did appeal the verdict. That appeal was denied. She also appealed to the sentencing judge, and this is what she said. Your Honorable Judge Herndon, I have maintained my innocence throughout this entire process and continue to do so. During the sentencing hearing on January 18th, 2022, you stated that I must complete 85% of my sentence. Upon arriving at the Florida Women Reception Center, the Department of Corrections informed me that due to the nature of my charges, I do not qualify for serving only 85%. I'm respectfully asking for a reduction of sentence of 18 months, which is 15% of my sentence. I am a model inmate, as I was a model citizen in society. I am in a leadership position with the Joy program, a Christian-based program at FWRC. I've had the privilege to mentor many women. I have purposed to turn my incarceration into a mission field. Despite my wrongful conviction, I will not allow this circumstance to cause me to have a victim mentality. I plan to use this time wisely, along with maintaining regular contact and visit with my family and friends, which she has many. Yet again, we see that male sex offenders have few friends. There ain't no visitation. Family want nothing to do with them. But women's sex offenders seemingly have the support of the world at their fingertips. Crying, loving family, haven't cut her off, had cut them off, supportive, fill the commissary up, visitors every week. It's just not the same. Upon release, I will become a functioning member of society, as previously shown with my 23-year commitment working for First America International. Obviously, there will be challenges registering as a sex offender and the 20 years of probation that I will be on. However, I'm resilient, and I will function well in society with the parameters that have been set. I will once again find my place. My ultimate goal is to be reunited with my children. And she names them. She has 2 young children with the father. She had 2 biological children who will be 22 years old at the time of my release. If you grant this request, and my parents, who will both be well into their 70s, thank you for your consideration. The defendant asked this honorable court for leniency and prays that the court consider all of the mitigating circumstances and grants any relief this court deems appropriate. Signed, Heather Reyes, Department of Correction number W81362. That's for all you men out there that will plan to write her. There's her name and there's her DOC number. Send her the commissary money. You might get some more action from her than the OnlyFans that you subscribe to. Florida Women's Reception Center. What a window into the mentality. Continual denial, continue lying. She asks a judge to reduce her sentence after she proclaims her innocence. She loses an appeal, draws the case out for 3.5 years. She's committed multiple crimes against multiple victims in her own custody, and she still can't admit guilt. She still can't say sorry. She still can't apologize. And this is what I've come to learn about the female sex offenders that I've seen. They will destroy anything and everything in their path, if, in the very rare chance, that they are called to account for their criminal behavior. Almost all of these cases, female sex offenders, female predators are never called to account. But not this case. Not this time. With victims and brave men like the three that you heard on this story, they weren't just speaking for themselves. They weren't just speaking for their father. They were speaking for all boys, all men, and all victims that have been told by a sick, perverted culture that what they went through was a rite of passage to be celebrated, to be glorified. And they sat and told you that it ain't so. And they were brave enough to do it. And you watched them because you hardly ever see men as brave as them, with powerful words, with intelligent minds. It's very clear that their stepmom, Heather Reyes, failed and failed miserably to destroy their lives. So if you like this case of Heather Reyes, if you want to hear more victims like her stepsons, make sure you like the videos, like their stories, comment, subscribe to the channel. We've got stacks of these cases. This is rather common for us to read these types of stories. It was new for you. It's not for us. So if you want to see more content like this, make sure you keep your notifications on. Take a look at our Instagram at darkunderbelly1 on Instagram, or on Twitter at darkunderbelly2. And we will have more updates, more cases like this, more stories like this soon to come.